through the mouth, in this case, the exhale. S sound, okay? This is just a little exercise to like ground ourselves before we start to practice. So inhale through the nose, take 3, 4, 5 seconds. Yeah, just relax and focus. Feel how that essence or that scent goes through the nostrils, and how deep can you feel it throughout the nostrils and nasal passages. Whew. Analyze that sensation, the air also going through the nostrils, and try to let the air go, further downwards to the bottom of your lungs. And see how deep can you feel that refreshing, cooling sensation going. Yeah, there's one person going, so you can maybe just double high five her. You can just go like this, and then I'll call her over. Start, yeah, you can start rubbing your hands. There you go. Eso. Eso, nice, that's nice. And she can take the extra too. No, like from her, that's okay. You can sit over here if you like. Bienvenida, Cristina. Bienvenida. Ok, estamos haciendo un ejercicio pequeño como de grounding acá, en el momento. Y esas manos que tienen peppermint, menta, eso es para inhalar profundo, llevar el aire a la base de los pulmones. Toma tu tiempo para inhalar. Siente cómo esa sensación se va por todos los ductos nasales y llega tal vez hasta la garganta. Ok. Y la exhalación puede ser con sonido de S. Just enjoy this moment of consciousness and awareness. Okay, so for those who have heard the term pranayama, which is basically working with the vital energy that the air contains in the yogic realm, cosmology. A good yogi friend of mine taught me once, dude, without intellectualizing too much concepts for breathwork and pranayama, any conscious breath is pranayama. As long as you're paying attention to your breath and really becoming aware of it, that's pranayama. As simple as that. Then there's techniques and there's all this, branches. The purpose for this 1 hour plus workshop is to become even more connected with our respiratory or our breathing system, okay? And this is mostly muscles. Mostly muscles. Why is that? Because our lungs by themselves cannot bring the air in and let it out, because they are not muscles. They are organs, and they serve as containers and quote-unquote treatment plants for gases. In this case, the intake of oxygen and the exhale or the expel of CO2, carbon dioxide, right? That's what we pretty much do with the gases. The lungs do with the gases. Now, since the lungs on their own cannot shrink and inflate, right? They cannot expand and contract. They rely on the musculature around them. So if those muscles are inactive, lazy, not trained, if you will, not active, breathing becomes dysfunctional automatically. And so we're going to start from the bottom up, okay? And isolate each one of those muscles or group of muscles and work with them. Give them a nice activation, okay? And that's going to be, at the end of the workshop, is going to be like, wow, it's going to be revealing, if you will, on where you were before, okay? And where you're now after that activation. So I'm going to just tell you quickly which muscles are involved in this inspiratory and expiratory mechanics in your inhales and exhales, starting with the diaphragm. Okay, that's the main muscle of breathing. It sits underneath your lungs, and it becomes a sort of a jellyfish when it expands, you know, like a dome or open parachute, when it expands. And as it expands, that means that it's pushing the air out of your lungs. It's pushing the bottom of the lungs upwards. So the lungs are compressing or squeezing, okay? And as it compresses, as it becomes flat, it pulls the lungs downwards, almost like an accordion, the wind instrument, okay? So as, again, the diaphragm flattens or tightens or pulls down, it brings the bottom of the lungs pretty much, and some of the, you know, surrounding areas, just so we can suck the air in. So it's negative pressure that's created by that mechanical action, okay? So it works for both inhale and exhale. Now we have the obliques and the rectus abdominis, so your abdominal area. Those are mainly expiratory. Those you will squeeze in when you want to, you know, get the air out in that area, okay? As we move up, we have layers of muscles in between the ribs, okay? We have 2 layers of musculature in between the ribs. We have 12 ribs on each side, and in between those ribs there are muscles. They're called the intercostal muscles. And so there's 2 layers. Inspiratory, those will make the rib cage expand, as again we create negative pressure so that the air can, you know, come in. And the expiratory layers, those will actually squeeze the rib cage and thus, of course, the lungs, so we can, you know, keep helping the lungs to inhale, exhale. You can tell maybe that the lats, I can say that the lats, the latissimus dorsi, are involved a little bit in that mechanical function. And as we move up a little higher, then we have what we call the accessory muscles or musculature of breathing. Does the name accessory tells you something, hints at something? Anybody? Accessory?
They're not 100% needed.
Yeah. Exactly, it's a support, it's like extra. You said something?
You don't need it?
You do need them, but you need them not all the time. This you'll probably need all the time. The diaphragm, yeah, you do need it all the time because it's the base, it's the foundation. Now, and the intercostals as well. So it is almost like in order of importance. You start at the foundation at the bottom. It is like the bed in which everything, you know, or the base in which everything builds. Now the accessory muscles, let's just go through them really quick, is the neck muscles. So that's the sternocleidomastoid and the scalenes right around, you know, this area. Then we have some pectoral minor, and trapezius. So neck, you can say shoulders and chest. The trapezius, you know, they can, there's like posterior and anterior, I believe, or major, minor, I guess. And it goes as far as like back here, and it goes like all through, you know, it connects the deltoids with the neck and all this area here. So those are the muscles that when you're exerting physical exercise, I mean, your heart rate zone is going above zone 2, maybe 3, 4, you know, when you start like needing more air, especially 4, 5, submaximal and maximal effort. Yeah. Then these are the ones that you recruit. These are the ones that will accessory. You'll just boom, you know, like an extra layer, so that you'll give yourself more volume because you need it, because you need to bring in more air to nurture your muscles. Otherwise, you'll go, you know, you'll gas out, you know, if you will. So this is very important to understand when we're breathing, because nowadays, and for many years, there has been a dominant pattern of accessory muscle activation over activation. So in moments where we probably don't need them, we're using them. And what that causes, little by little, is an activation of the sympathetic response, or the sympathetic branch of the autonomic nervous system. We have both the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. The sympathetic is the one known as fight or flight, right? Is your stress response, is your alert response, your survival mode. And so the brain chemistry is basically led by adrenaline or noradrenaline or norepinephrine. There's different ways to call the same thing. Cortisol, right? The stress of hormone, the hormone of stress. And so what happens when you're breathing up here with this musculature, is that you may not need those neurotransmitters because you're not about to engage in either, well, say sports, or maybe on a fight, or other survival mechanisms. Yet those substances are there tensing your musculature, raising your heart rate and your blood pressure, restricting blood flow to your digestive system, and all for nothing, for like no reason. Okay, and then also there on top of that there is 20 to 25,000 times a day we breathe, right? We repeat breathing for that amount, depending on the person. So imagine all of those repetitions with subtle activation, motion of those muscles. It probably adds up to muscle tension and upper back tension and neck tension and pain. And so this is good to realize so that we become very aware of it and be careful with it, and always try to remind ourselves like, hey, I don't really need to be using these guys now. I'm just writing on my computer, or I'm just like doing the dishes, or writing, I don't know, like talking to somebody, like a mundane or daily, task that doesn't involve you to get that heart rate too high. So becoming aware of that is very important. And we always try to focus on the belly first, then ribs, then chest, just to call it one word, if you need it, okay? If you need it. Again, if you start getting that heart rate up. Okay, that being said, the bottom activates the opposite, the parasympathetic, okay? The diaphragm pulls almost like a string that goes to the brain and tells the brain, hey, release the feel-good hormones and neurotransmitters, okay? And then the brain does so, and then the musculature does the opposite, it relaxes. The heart does the opposite, it slows down. You just become more aware of things, decision making gets better, etc. All right, so based on this premise, let's work on working with let's activate the diaphragm, work with it. Let's then work with the intercostals, and we're going to be able to feel each one of those areas deeper than probably ever before, okay? And finally, we're going to do some breathing with the accessory, but very, very conscious this time, okay? Because typically this area gets overactivated without thinking about it. Now we're going to think about it. Because the beauty of the breath is that it is mainly an autonomic function, but you can also bring it to the conscious side of things. You can take power over it and just modulate it and manipulate it, if you will, to become a better you, to optimize yourself. That's the beauty of it. I don't think there's any other function in the body that's autonomic. Like you cannot just say, hey, I'm going to stop sweating right now, or I'm going to stop digesting food right now. But you can go, I'm going to stop breathing right now. I'm just going to hold my breath and see how I feel. By the way, just by making that decision of holding your breath willingly, voluntarily, deliberately, you are immediately, automatically lowering your heart rate. So short breath holds are actually relaxing, because as a mechanism of self-preservation, your brain tells the heart, hey, slow down, because we're not sure how long we're going to stay holding our breath. So just holding your breath, it is a good practice for becoming more relaxed and aware. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, whatever it is that you feel good with, okay? Then it starts becoming uncomfortable at some point, and then the game changes. It is more of a training for mental and physical adaptations. But for relaxation, you can just hold your breath, hopefully with filled lungs, okay? So little pieces of information for you to just use them whenever you feel like, okay, oh, like I'm over activated, okay, I'm just gonna hold my breath. I feel overwhelmed by something, okay, well, hold your breath for a few seconds and then let it out slow, also, as we were doing. S sound. That's another way to, slow down your heart rate, because the heart slows down when you exhale and it speeds up when you inhale. So keep that exhale going longer, you will keep that heart going, slower. Okay, so we're gonna do the 3-part breath one by one, but before that we're gonna perform one breath hold to tell ourselves where we're at. Number one, with how good are we sitting or laying, in this case, with our own, within our own skin, being able to just feel relaxed and tranquil, and just removing any like thoughts that come in to bother us about discomfort or whatnot, how long are we able to stay calm and relaxed and just zenning out, if you will, just existing? How, you know, skilled are we at that? A lot of us have lost that, you know, like sometimes I feel I can't sit still, you know, myself. So I like to do that in order for me to just reset. I go, hey, just chill out, man. Just exist for a little while and stop thinking so much. Stop trying to find meaning for everything, you know, just exist, which is the main purpose of this 3D reality. And then, you know, you think first, you know, then we exist, right? That's how. Anyhow, you remember that, right? From the guy thinking. What was his name?
Just the thinker.
Huh?
The thinker.
The thinker, exactly.
Like, I don't know if he
Yeah.
had a name. I don't know.
Yeah, I can't recall it, but. Huh? Okay, there you go. Well, then we're gonna do another breath hold later, okay? To compare after the series of exercises how much we have gained in adaptation, and how much our bodies have reacted or responded to this stimuli of breath holding. And this is going to be based on the activation. Those who have ever done free diving or maybe even a scuba dive, some people knows this concept of the mammalian dive reflex, or marine mammal instinct, either or for short, dive reflex, which is basically lowering of the heart rate mainly by holding your breath. Then, you know, even more so when you add water, even more so cold water, and then at depth as you go deep, there's other things that changes in your body, like your spleen will release more red blood cells to, you know, be able to take more oxygen into the cells and all that. And there's a blood shift in your body also, what they call peripheral vasoconstriction, where the blood just goes into the core to keep the heart fed with oxygen, and the brain too. But so far on dry land, at least, the lowering of the heart rate by just holding your breath is activated. And that's one trait, the main one of the mammalian dive reflex. And every time you repeat, if you repeat that, you know, breath hold, it's like your DNA starts understanding more or remembering more. Like, oh, this is what we're doing. Of course, we have that tool. It's just been there. We just got to dust it off, you know? And so as you dust it off, it becomes more, you know, readily available, and it'll help you to stay longer under that breath hold. Okay, so guys, first thing then is going to be a breath hold, and we're going to lay comfortably on our backs. We can use the bolsters for support. If the mats are too close and the people on the back needs a little space to stretch, we can always move this mats forward. Try to be, you know, with your legs stretched. Sandy, you good back there? Okay, everybody's good back there?
Yeah.
Plenty of space? Enough space? Okay, great. Here's a protocol. I'm going to count down from 10. Okay, when I get to 1, when I say the number 1, literally that's when everybody at the same time takes a deep breath, whether nasal or mouth inhale, with whatever intuition or information you have. Do that last inhale and hold it. Pack your lungs with as much air as possible and hold it for as long as you can. Okay, then when you have to breathe again, that'll mean you exhale, right? You let the air out to then reconnect with breathing. Please raise your hand so I'm aware that you're breathing again, because I'm not, you know, I can't really tell sometimes, like if somebody started breathing, if that first exhale is not loud enough. So raise your hand and look at me, because I'm going to tell you your time. So you take a mental note and you just leave that there so we can compare for the second one later. Okay? Everybody clear? All right. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale as deep as you can, as much air in as possible. Let's go. We are at 30 seconds. Good job, everybody. That was 40 seconds. Good job. Getting close to a minute. That was 45 seconds. Good job. Getting close to a minute. That was 50 seconds. 51, 52 seconds. Good. Good. Got it. That was 57 seconds. We are at 1 minute currently. You can rest that hand if you like and just keep breathing with a little more emphasis, those breaths. Those who are breathing by now, 108. Good job. Let's just breathe. Those who are breathing now, breathe with some more intention. Move some air fast. We are getting close to 130. And we just hit the 130 mark, boys. And we are at 140. And that was 147. Breathe in and out a lot, like a lot of breaths to purge, offload extra CO2 in your bloodstream. And we have 2 minutes currently, bro. 205. And that's 211. Good job. Breathe in and out for 5-6 times with a lot of air moving. In and out with a lot of air moving. That is to remove or offload extra CO2. Because your baseline CO2 just went really high. Like savoring that air, okay? Like letting a lot of air in and out for 2 more, 3 more breaths. Okay, everybody took mental notes of their times, right? Of your times. Okay, great. Now let's start with diaphragmatic breathing training. We are going to use the mouth only for training purposes, because nasal breathing 95% of the times is what we should be doing, and I just leave another 5% for mouth breathing. It could be 10%, it could be, but it's a smaller percent because the mouth has its application for breathing, believe it or not. Well, number one, if you have a deviated septum or clogged nostrils and nasal passages, then obviously the mouth is a second airway available. Number two, you have more traction, more suctioning power with mouth and trachea. Okay, you are able to grab air stronger and quicker. You know, almost like a vacuum effect if you compare the two airways. Number three, if you are under pressure and you need to let CO2 out and bring fresh air in quick, say you have 5 or 10 seconds before the next wave explodes in your head, going through a set of waves, I mean, you're going to achieve that clearance or that clearing of the CO2 quicker, faster, in a more effective way through the mouth, simply because you have more traction, more suctioning and exhaling powers, okay? Because of the musculature and how wide the airway is, and because it almost never gets clogged or blocked, okay? Number 4 or 5, you can just add swimming. Obviously, when we swim, we usually breathe through the mouth. Free diving, you know, because you have a snorkel on. Public speech, singing. These are ways, okay, in which obviously or almost obviously the mouth is the answer. For everything else, we have the nasal passages. And we'll discuss the benefits later, and we're going to make it an interactive conversation, okay? For now, let's just say that for training, which is the first, or that first thing that I mentioned, I didn't make it on that list. But training, again, because you have that stronger suctioning power, you're able to get the air down to the bottom of the lungs with more power through a nice, if you look at me for a second, through a nice O-shaped lips inhale. strong inhale, okay, that drives the air down to the bottom of your lungs, where you can feel the belly protruding, okay, sticking out, because the organs need to make room for the descending organs and muscle diaphragm downwards, okay? So that'll be the inhale. Then you hold for 2 to 3 seconds with that belly, really pushing up. I'm actually gonna grab yoga blocks and give them to you so you guys can play with the yoga blocks, just raising them as high as possible, holding there for 3 seconds. You can, on top of that, tighten your perineal muscle in between the legs as you're just holding to get to the restroom, okay? For the duration of that hold, for the holding your breath. And then slowly, as you release with an S sound, you can start relaxing that musculature. And you want to try and go as deep, as low as possible with that block. So drop it as low as possible, raise it as high as possible, okay? You can actually start now with your dominant hand in your belly button and just go for those audible, noticeable inhales, and again, those audible, noticeable exhales. My friend. There you go. Let's make those inhales strong and a little faster, of course, than the exhales, and let's make them audible, noticeable. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Nice. So the sound is a very important element for becoming, again, more aware, more in tune with our breath, with our bodies. Nice. We have Scarlet macaws flying over there. Amiga. Got a lot of birds going around today, dear friends. Mouth. For this particular exercise, again, because you're able to really drive the air down there. That's good. I notice that belly protrude. That's nice. There you go. Try to. The idea for shaping the lips as a tiny O is to pressurize the air, to make it hard for the diaphragm to really have to, pull down and bring that air in. Okay. So that's why we do that that tiny O with our lips. As you inhale, when the bottom of your lungs are packed and that block is at its highest, you hold for 3 seconds, and that's when you tighten your perineal muscle and you push up a little more. Okay, and then as the air goes out, as you exhale with an S sound, then you can relax that, okay? So the idea, again, is to really tap into that muscle control over your diaphragm. It is a neuromuscular pattern that you're just like activating until it becomes really natural. For those of you, by the way, who have lost it, like me, okay? That's why I like to present this, because it is a constant reminder for myself. And trust me, it is more common than you will think. 80% of the population, speaking in, general knowledge for the people who are dedicated to breath work, we know right around 80% of modern world, countries, if you will, suffer from dysfunctional breathing, which means all up here in the accessory muscles. So this is a very good way to reconnect. Just keep on feeling that sensation of connection with the diaphragm, that sensation of inspiratory and expiratory power or strength, because you are strengthening that musculature as you push through it as deep as possible on every inhale and as deep as possible on every exhale. Aquí tienes un pequeño pañito si te está molestando algún insecto, que pasa mucho aquí, claro. Good job, guys. We're going to keep doing this for 1 more minute, so just a little longer. And then we are going to work our way up to the next set of muscles, the intercostals. If anybody has bugs bothering, you let me know and I'll pass you a little towel or a little rag. Excellent, guys. We're gonna throw 4 more breaths in and we're gonna switch now to the next exercise. Remember to squeeze that air out of your lungs as deep as possible, as much as possible. Again, trying to bring that block as low as you can, as low as you can. Good job, everybody. Let's now set the blocks next to us. You can just set them on your left or right, wherever, or behind you. You know, those back there can place them behind you. Those up here, we can just place them next to you. You can just lay them if you like. Great. Okay, guys. Most likely, your heart rate should have slowed down a bit by doing diaphragmatic breathing. Okay, this is one of the benefits for diaphragmatic breathing is lowering of the heart rate. In fact, free divers do diaphragmatic breathing before holding their breath, whether it is a static breath hold or apnea, or a dynamic, whether it's descending or just going through a pool, you know, back and forth, as different modalities of free diving will do. After you've gone through enough diaphragmatic breaths, you take that last breath in, which it'll be a 3-stage, which is what we're achieving today after going one by one through all those 3 areas. Okay, the next exercise is going to require you guys to join each other as couples, okay? So pick a friend or a buddy to perform this exercise. I think back there you guys are paired, and up here we probably need me to work with one of you, so I'm happy to work maybe with you, bro. You ladies can work together, you guys can work together. What we're going to do is we're going to sit with legs crossed, and one of you is going to sit behind the other. So maybe one of you can sit in the bolster and the other one can sit in front, okay? So let's do that. Let's try and just get in position. You can sit in the bolster if you like, and then I'll we'll explain. You and I will show them how it's done. Okay, once everybody is in position, you guys remember this from last time, yeah? Okay, good. You can just leave it where it is, no problem. Okay. Okay, so the idea for this next exercise is the same concept. It is strengthening those muscles. By the way, if we rewind a couple of minutes, the previous exercise, you can add weight to it. As you use a yoga block, you can use a heavy book. You can use like a weighted exercise, you know, lifting disc, a few pounds. And again, this will give your diaphragm that nice weight where you can work weight or tension under weight, if you will, which is, you know, the concept for any, you know, lifting, the premise for any lifting exercise that tends to strengthen musculature. Same case for here. Since we don't have a eccentric and concentric, you know, traveling, bending and extending, because there's no joints in these muscles, all we have left to do is apply pressure. As you did with the yoga block, again, you can do it with something heavier. And in this case, whether you have specific tools as a breathing belt, which you wrap around and just tighten it, or maybe you have exercise bands that you can tighten around your ribs. In this case, we're going to use each other. So we're going to place our hands, those who are behind the person, and not yet, because it's going to cause some strain at some point in your muscles, or especially the deltoids. You're going to feel like the deltoids are getting a workout. So when we're ready, those hands are in place, and those hands will most likely be up here with fingertips almost joining, you know, almost touching in the front. where you can feel most of the bones, okay? Most of the bones in those ribs, okay? And once we are ready, we're gonna start pressing in, okay? Pressing into those ribs. So that pressure, the person breathing is gonna try to break or break away or like push away, okay? And a couple of cues to make it easier. Otherwise, the air is not gonna go to the right place. You can tuck your chin in a little bit, kind of arch yourself. Those who are breathing, arch yourself, like hunch yourself a tiny bit, and keep that belly in, okay? So that we force the air to go to that center area, okay? So if you let, for instance, the shoulders to go like shrug up, the air is going to want to go to the accessory muscles and to the top of the lungs. So you also try to keep those shoulders down. Everything is focused here, okay? So if I was to do it on my own, it's going to look and sound like this, guys. And then I hold for the same protocol. Hold for 3 seconds and press out as if you're just trying to look more robust here. Like, okay, that's going to even tighten those muscles more. And those hands are going to feel that. Okay, those hands pressing are going to feel that. There's going to be an activation of the lats as well. You're going to feel those lats activating. Okay, hold for 3 seconds, press out. So like visualize you're just pressing walls that are closing on you, pressing them out, and then exhale. Okay, exhale again. On this one, you can actually exhale a little faster. So those hands can feel that change of tension easier, better, okay? So just a quick...
You're breathing in, but you're pressing out. Give us a visual.
Yes, for sure. Yeah, for sure. You're pressing in the whole time, okay? Because it's going to be hard to tell, like, oh, I'm going to start pressing now because he or she are inhaling, and then you may just catch it like halfway, you know. But if you keep pressing constantly, you're going to feel that nice expansion and that nice decompression as well. So I'm just going to place my hands. You can be crouching like this. You can be sitting like you guys are. You can also use your knees as extra leverage or, fulcrum, like to press into those. You feel that nice pressure? Okay, let's actually do it. There you go. Bring your shoulders down. Hold for 3. Press onto those hands. There you go. And exhale. You can feel my hands going in. You can see my hands going in a little bit, right? Inhale strong. I can feel those ribs moving. Shoulders down. Press onto my hands and exhale faster. Look at my hands, how they go in a little bit. Okay, so that's what we want to feel. We want to palpate those, muscles really engaging and that thoracic, that rib cage really expanding, okay? That's it. So I'm actually going to stay in front of you now that you know. We're going to do 5 breaths. 5 breaths and then we're switching, okay? So at the count of 3, place those hands where you feel the most bones and start pressing. Start pressing firmly. 1, 2, 3, let's go. Shoulders down, hold the breath for 3 seconds. Press more and there you go. At your own pace, 4 more breaths. Exhale faster when you have to. Remember to keep those shoulders down, belly inactive. All that energy goes to the center, to the ribs. 1 more. Good job, bro. Right on. We already did our 5 breaths, so we can switch. You guys the same? You have to be firm. You have to be firm. You have to be very firm pressing onto those hands and onto those ribs, okay? You really have to put a lot of pressure, okay? There you go. Let me know when everybody is in place, in position. And let's start pressing at the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go. Shoulders down. Press those ribs out. And exhale. Yeah. Exhale faster. There you go. At your own pace. Let's keep going. You have to be more emphatic on that inhale. Okay? A lot of passion on that inhale. There you go. And that wasn't for you. That was actually for the rest. There you go. Good. Count the breaths. We have probably 3 more to go. or 2 more to go. You have to be very firm pressing, and you have to be very strong breathing. There you go. Nice. Woo! Like if it wasn't enough, huh? All the surfing. Like if it wasn't enough, all. Yeah, yeah, exactly. It is. Like if it wasn't enough, right? All the paddling. You can vary. You can just bring him forward a little bit, bring him back a little bit. I mean, you're gonna feel that pressure in your ribs. You know, after all. Yeah, you can just play with it. Yeah. You guys felt the expansion? Okay, great. That's the idea. That we feel the expansion.
She caught me all the time raising my shoulders.
And she reminded you? That's great. Good, good, good. That's great.
Now the next exercise, we're going to do this.
Huh? Well, guys, this is how we train those muscles. And when we talk about the biomarkers or the bodily, the physiological traits that tells you if you are in good health, and you have a good health ahead also, like longevity. There are a few things that you look at, right? Like we know, probably some of us know that VO2 max is a good key indicator, right, for good health and longevity. You have constant glucose levels in the blood and constant blood pressure, and you have things like grip strength, and you have things like well, even now quad strength is being spoken about, because I think there's some either cells or sensors that will trigger the appearance of more testosterone, which doesn't only benefit men but also women. And there is well, of course, your functional movement screening, right? Your FMS is like a test you do, right, to see how mobile you are, if there's any restriction. There's so many things. Well, it turns out lung volume is a big one. Lung capacity, sorry. Because lung volume is one of the capacities is the volume, and then another capacity is your inspiratory strength, which is how strong are the muscles of inspiration. Again, how much can you really pack your lungs, right? How strong and connected those muscles are to your brain, where you can just throw the command and those muscles will exercise their action in order to really explore your full volume, because we all have a given volume that could decrease with time, but that decreasal is due to a lack of activation of that musculature. Because if you just give those muscles some nice training like this, also your lungs are going to become more flexible. The tissue is going to remain nice and flexible, and the muscles are going to stay strong or even strengthen more than before. Because we were not taught this. At least I wasn't taught this ever until I signed up for freediving classes and a course, and then that's when I'm like, wow, okay, these muscles are as important as my biceps and my quads and my calves and my pectoral. Everybody's just like strengthening all of those muscles, but what about the diaphragm? What about the intercostals? Very important. Okay, so oh, by the way, you probably felt it on the first exercise. When you exhale, when you try to bring that block as low as possible, did you feel a little activation in your abs? Okay, so the abs got to work out again, because the abs and the obliques are expiratory muscles. They help you to empty your lungs. So when you really squeeze them to let the air out, you get a workout. So there's benefits for it, even abdominal tone. So guys, we're gonna keep going up. Okay, the accessory muscles, as we spoke earlier, and this will be done with more awareness than normally, because a lot of times we're using them without even thinking about them, and that's when the breath is short and shallow, because it is up here, and it is on top of that done through the mouth. Which I like to point out this concept now that I spoke about, the shortness of breath, the shallowness of breath, and the wrong airway, if you will. These are the three main things that we would like for this workshop to, remind. It is, again, the right order, belly, ribs, and chest. These are one word, more of a colloquial way to call it, right? Or if you want to get more technical and maybe more words, this will be your diaphragmatic, your intercostal, and your accessory muscle areas. That'll be the right order. Always start with the foundation, with the bottom, followed by the center, and then if you need it, then you recruit the top. Okay. Belly, ribs, and chest for short, and more colloquial. Intercostal, diaphragmatic, intercostal, and accessory muscle for more technical. So that's one concept. Okay, the right order. Other concept is the right airway. That'll be nostrils and nasal passages, okay? And we'll discuss that in a little while. Unless, again, we're training, we're recovering, we're swimming, we're, singing or doing a public speech, okay? Then the mouth comes in handy, as I mentioned before. And the third one is the slowing down of the breath. Slowing down, counting 4 to 5 seconds in, 4 to 5 seconds out. That'll be the ideal. If we can rewire ourselves, if we feel like we have lost that, because we had it as we were babies, we were born obligated nasal breathers, like by nature, belly breathers by nature, and our nervous system was not, didn't have not gone yet through so much, and we were just really taking the time to inhale and exhale. As we grew up to a certain age, we started. First thing that starts changing as we become aware of the sometimes complexity of the world that we live in is our breath. It's the first thing that goes south, if you will. And so now we're claiming it, with this type of exercises and mindset. Again, those three concepts, belly, ribs, and chest, so the right order, the right airway, nostrils, and the right length or time for each inhale, exhale, okay? Let's just do the top. Let's do the accessory. You can choose to place one hand. Always the hands are handy for when you want to feel the areas that you're working on. Same with the diaphragm. If we didn't have that block, we could have just sit and place our dominant hand in the lower belly and just feel that hand sticking, out or raising and going back in. Let's do that with the chest. And you can still use the non-dominant on your belly, just so you make sure the belly is not activating, okay? Everything that's activating is up here and you can feel it. And it's going to look and feel like this. It's going to look and sound like this. If you look at me for a second really quick. I drop as I'm holding and then I exhale. You can see the exaggeration, the emphasis that I did on the shrugging of the shoulders and tilting of the head. That's because really want to maximize that expansion on the top of the lungs, okay?
Do it again, Marcel. Yeah, one more time.
And then I drop. Okay, I drop my shoulders, and you can roll those shoulders back. You puff up your chest and wait those 3 seconds, and then exhale. Okay, good. I like to emphasize.
Sorry, I missed that.
I like to emphasize. Well, it's normal that I explain this, and then I see people still holding their shoulders up, so I have to remind them of dropping them and rolling their shoulders back. As soon as you finish your inhale, before you exhale, you're supposed to hold it for those 3 seconds. There you go. You know why that, guys? Because part of a good functional breath is also increasing the intrathoracic pressure. Because when you increase your intrathoracic or intrapulmonary pressure, what happens is that you're speeding up, you're pushing the intake of oxygen by your alveoli. You're just pushing those oxygen molecules into those alveoli, which are the air sacs with capillaries that will suck in the oxygen. So when you pressurize the air by just bringing your shoulders down, you're like squeezing that pressure. That air wants to go somewhere, and those particles of oxygen within that air are going to penetrate through those alveoli quicker. So good for recovery. If you want to recover fast from a high intensity, say a sprint, and you have only 30 seconds to recover for the next one, and you go, oh my God, I feel like I can't go anymore. Then you do a type of recovery breath that we'll explain in a little while. Brought, by the way, from the aviators in the Second World War, I believe it was Second World War or Vietnam. that in order to cope with the changes of altitude, when they'll have to go down to bombard, to throw bombs, sadly, then they'll have to go up really quick again, just so they don't get, are their targets. That changes of altitude will cause them to go through major shifts of pressure and oxygen and CO2 changes. And so they'll have to do this thing called the hook breath. Hook breath. I'll explain later. It intends to recover quickly oxygen and to lower CO2. Okay, guys, let's do it together. Let's do it together. 3, 2, 1. Drop shoulders, puff up your chest, wait 3 seconds, and the idea is to visualize that when the air is coming in, the top of the lungs are expanding upwards. That's why you shrug your shoulders, because those accessory muscles are connected with the last 2 ribs, and the last 2 ribs are connected via the pleura, which is another tissue, to the top of the lungs. You may get a little lightheaded on this one. It's normal. So just complete 5 or 6 breaths and then we're good. We're good. Nice. And we can top it off with a couple of sighs. Good. All right. This is probably the closest that we can get today to those out of body experiences with breath. The closer we can get. All right. If we keep going like this, and if we increase the pace, then we'll just start depleting ourselves from CO2, carbon dioxide, and then our minds switch to a different mode, and then you can do it, but I'm very particular about that because if I don't know everybody here, I know a couple of you. But I don't know if there's nervous systems here that are very delicate that could get like really, through that, get revved up too much and then actually kind of having a, different reaction to what we. So for that, it needs a person needs to be more specialized. And I will at some point, but I like to focus on the foundation. Yeah. And my background comes from freediving, so you may understand that this is also. I like to do Wim Hof on my own. I've done Rebirth and. I've done a couple of, on my own with people, but yeah.
What's Rebirth?
Huh?
Rebirth?
Rebirth. There's there's a few holotropic Rebirth. There's different ways of just switching your mind to a different state and just kind of have self-realizations and have, it's very interesting. I think it's very valuable, but I don't want to touch it. Or at least I don't want to do it with others because I don't feel like I'm ready yet for that. And I know a lot of people that does it are not. I do know that. That should be taken, with a lot of respect and care. Okay, so now what we're doing is unifying those 3 breaths, those 3 areas into one deep breath. That's it. I'm going to lay in front of you guys and just perform 2 breaths only. And then you guys are going to do it for 5 times, 6 times. We're starting with the mouth and then we're slowly switching to the nasal passages. So actually we're doing 5 or 6 rounds of only mouth. And then we're switching to nasal. Okay? But the point is to now join or connect the 3 stages into one. So if you can look at my belly, my ribs, and my chest really quick, I'm just going to do 2 demos. 2 demos. Here I go. On the exhale, leave the belly for last. So stick it out. Let it be the last area to deflate, if you will.
so that we, keep that nice control over our musculature, which is one of the intentions for this breath work, is that we become more connected to the different areas. One more. Even slightly different sounds for each of the three containers, if you will. Okay, and then leave the belly for last. Now, after that, 5 of those, and then you switch to nasal. I want to make sure you guys know that exaggerating the breath is something that we shouldn't do all the times. I do it when I train, because when I train, I just like to really get that energy going. Especially given the fact that a lot of us have lost touch with the diaphragm mainly, and to reestablish to gain that back, we really have to like emphasize and push it, right? We really have to push it, and then when we feel like we're connected again, we can just bring it to the more natural tidal breath, like normal breath, because we know that connection is already there. It's there again, if you will. All right, let's do it, guys. And we're going to transition from this to your second and last breath hold, okay? So after we do those 5 through the mouth and 5 through the nose, we're going to just relax. We're probably going to remove the bolsters. And so we're becoming neutral, fully neutral, okay? So we can actually start, after we do this 5 and 5, I'll start removing the bolsters, okay? And also, by the time you guys start to breathe with your nostrils, I'm going to pass by with a bottle of lavender, and I'm going to ask you to stick your index finger out so I can pour, if you like, I can pour a couple of drops of lavender in your index finger, maybe your right hand's index finger, and then you guys can just rub them, with a thumb, and just rub your ears and maybe, your throat and your nostrils, so you can have that nice lavender scent, which is soothing, is relaxing, with you to prepare better for the second and last breath hold, okay? That's whenever you guys start breathing through your nostrils. So let's do mouth breathing right now. Remember, O-shaped lips, 3 stages, belly, ribs, and chest. 3, 2, 1. See all that nice order? There you go. Nice, 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 nice. Leave the belly for last. Very nice. Very nice control, everybody. Very nice connection with the musculature. Count 5 of those and then switch to nostrils. In the meantime, I'm going to go by and grab the blocks so I can start storing them again. Very nice, guys. I think you guys are probably getting very close to start breathing with your nostrils, so I'm just gonna provide that lavender if you like. Yeah. You can rub the back of your ears. You can rub the back of the ears and maybe some of the throat and nostrils. Index finger. There you go. Rub the back of your ears. And also maybe throat and a little bit of around the nostrils also. There we go. Now let's do fully nasal. Now we're just doing nasal. Doing nasal breathing. And if you like to help to slow down the exhale, you can emit that deep throat sound like Star Wars Darth Vader, the Ujjayi or ocean breath in yoga. That sounds like a deep quiet hum, if you like, if you will. You can slow down the exhale as you emit that sound. So 5 of those. And then we can opt to go back to diaphragmatic breathing for the last few breaths before we go on, this time, a few sighs before we do the last breath in. I'm gonna start, grabbing the bolster. So you guys are totally neutral on your laying position. So whenever you get a chance, I'm gonna pass by. Thank you, and you can thank you. Danke schön. I'm just gonna. Do you mind if I remove the bolster? Não tem problema se eu pego o bolster? All right, we're probably doing a couple more nasal breaths. And I'd like to review a couple of concepts before we go on. Gracias. Before I go on, do you mind, Luke? Before I go on and explain mindset for the breath hold, it is called the breath hold journey. Number one, as soon as you guys start the breath hold, run a virtual body scanner through your whole body, right? From head to toes and back up. And as that scanner goes through, you guys are looking for any muscle tension, the tiniest, most imperceptible ones. You'll probably find out that you are holding a hand in place somewhere that is actually requiring a little bit of oxygen to keep that hand in that position. The best position for holding your breath and saving oxygen is yoga's quintessential Shavasana pose. So run that body scanner as soon as you start the breath hold and just disconnect fully your musculature. Technique number 2 will be to visualize, if you like. You can visualize yourself performing amazingly at what you like to do in terms of sports, arts. It could be dancing, it could be surfing, it could be running, it could be anything that moves you, that you really are passionate about. A hobby, a sport, an art form, something that has to do with that creativity aspect of being. So visualize yourself vividly going through that amazing moment over and over, or different scenarios. Okay? You can also opt to count seconds in your head slowly. And instead of Mississippi, you can use Costa Rica. All right, so 1 Costa Rica, 2 Costa Rica. And that'll make time go by faster, okay? And you'll be thinking of something else but the discomfort whenever the discomfort kicks in. And anything else but the time, okay? Ultimately, you can just listen to the music, feel the breeze, caressing your skin, just looking for good bodily sensations and thoughts. That'll be my suggestion for your breath hold journey, okay? Also, when you start your breath hold, remember that Mother Nature and your biology are going to be with you, helping you, supporting you, lowering the heart rate, okay? So use that and try to, make it last as much as you can. Now, when the discomfort starts kicking in, you use that as a friend, as an ally, as something that's there to make you stronger. It's not going to kill you. It's going to make you stronger. So just dance with it, cope with it, spar with it, stay with it for, as much time as you can, until definitely, the sensation is not bearable anymore, and then you have to breathe. And please, when you start breathing again, just move a lot of air through the mouth, in and out, many times. Almost like hyperventilating in a controlled way, okay? And after that, we'll wrap it up. Friends, let's sigh together 10 times in a very controlled and relaxing way. Let's do it with any sound you like. I'll remind you as you sigh that the last breath we're taking is going to be a full breath, 3-stage, as you trained through the mouth. Packing the lungs as much as possible. Keep sighing and enjoy that next breath hold. Let's keep sighing, guys. And I'm going to start a countdown as you do your last few sighs. Remember, we are packing those lungs as much as we can on that number 1 announcement. 10, 9, you can keep sighing if you like. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pack those lungs with as much air as you can, and off we go. Very nice. Body scanner. Relax the facial muscles. Let any tension go away. Also, tell yourself beautiful things because you deserve them. You are doing a great thing right now. We are getting close to 1 minute very quickly, guys. Relax your neck, your face, your shoulders. Very nice, guys. We have just got to 1 minute. Stay strong yet relaxed. Remember, discomfort is a good buddy. If it shows up, just welcome it. Smile at it. And that was 118, my friend. Very nice. Let's move a lot of air, Sandy. And this is 127, ladies, together, 127. And this is 132 and 133. Very nice. Let's move a lot of air through the mouth. 132 and 133. We're currently at 140, about to hit the 2-minute mark, friends. Very nice. Very nice. Yes, please. We are currently at 157. Very nice. Only 3 seconds. I should have let you know that we're about to be at 2 minutes. We passed the 2 minutes a little while ago. That was technically 2 minutes. And boys, we are currently at 2:15. Very nice. 2:30 currently. And here's some free divers potential. We are at 2:45. 15 more seconds to the 3-minute barrier. Bear with us a little longer. You guys got this. 10 more seconds. We are almost there, friends. 5 more seconds. 3, 2, and 1. This is 3 minutes. And we still have more. This is very nice. We just broke the 3-minute barrier. And these guys are just totally, 3:11, bro. That's a good number, by the way. Move a lot of air in and out, look. Breathe a lot through the mouth. And we are almost at 3:30, bro. Almost at 3:30. Recuérdame su nombre. 3:30. Yes, that's the diaphragmatic contractions, which is a very positive thing. 3:40, brother. And please breathe in and out a lot. Just do lots of inhales, exhales. That's it. Let's give it up. That's very nice. And give it up for all of you too, because you probably noticed that you went further than your first breath hold, right? That was epic, boys. You guys went further this time on the second one, right? It was due to the activation we did, to the mindset. Of course, we did some mild purging of CO2 through those sighs. All of it together. It is valid, okay? In free diving, it is prohibited, it is counterproductive to hyperventilate, but you can lightly purge CO2. It's different. There's like an in-between line that you can still manage. That's what we did.
What's the longest you've gone free diving?
Free diving, the time gets reduced because you're moving, and so you're burning oxygen. So, like a standard free diving immersion for me, I, by the way, don't do a lot of free diving. I do more spearfishing. I got into free diving because of spearfishing. So in order to go deeper and to stay longer underwater, to hunt bigger fish, usually spear fishermen and women, they go into certifications and classes just to, and the same happens in other sports, right? Like to be a better mountain biker, you probably buy a road bike just to get more endurance. And okay, so standard 1.5 to 2 minutes when I'm
That's great.
yeah, but in a pool, as we're doing on Thursday, which is gonna be super fun. You guys are gonna love it. My best personal is about 5 minutes. It's 5:05, but we've had people here who has done 4:40. Actually, a lady did 4:40, and it was amazing. And she's not a free diver. She's just like a freak of nature. And she's a cyclist and a runner, so which gives you a lot of aerobic base. So yeah, if you have done like whatever you did today, I can tell you that in water, that number is probably going to go up if you are comfortable with water. Okay, if you really find that connection with water, because water just relaxes you more. So everybody went higher on the second one, right? That's great. Let's finally discuss, to wrap it up, nasal breathing benefits, because it is a very important topic. And I'd like for you to just throw in any information or intuition that you have, please, regarding the benefits of nasal breathing. That's how? Yes, that's the main arrow, the first airway, again, when we were born, that we used, and so it's the original one. How about the benefits? Filtration. Yes. Filtration, parasympathetic activation. Filtration or cleansing, it starts at the nasal hair, right? It's called the vibraceae by science, and I guess it's because it vibrates. That's the technical name for it, and that's why I don't like to trim it anymore. I kind of cut the outside a little. What's sticking out, yeah, the long ones, but everything else in there we should leave intact, because it traps bigger airborne particles and dust mites and what pathogens that may be floating in the air, which results into, it ends up being the snot, right? The buggers, they call them. Anyhow, literally, that's what it is. It is the residue of all that the vibraceae have caught and trapped there. So anything that goes through that first line of defense will hopefully get binded or sticking to the cilia and mucosa. Well, the mucosa actually, which is a humid layer that covers paranasal passages and sinuses and all that. But that layer of humid, sticky, basically mucus, gets scraped by this carpet-like structure called the cilia, which has hair, like a little bits of hair, and it scrapes with mucus those particles to the back of the throat, and this action right here helps it, right? And so it goes down. A what? Haka? Oh, I know. That's so funny. I know. That went viral, huh? So anyhow, that goes down the throat and into the stomach, and then the stomach acids will finally do, neutralize those pathogens. So that'll be the mechanisms for the filtration. Parasympathetic activation, as Christina mentioned, it happens because, yeah, the brain kind of perceives, it kind of catches a signal of nasal versus mouth. Mouth is usually, when people get stressed, they tend to breathe more through the mouth. You see like an animal or human stressing, panting, is usually the mouth, right? So, but on top of that, you have a parasympathetic dominant nostril, which is the left, and a sympathetic dominant nostril, which is the right. And it connects in a cross pattern, in an X pattern, with the brain hemispheres. So this has to do with this. Right hemisphere, we probably know that has to do with creativity and dreams and the divine and connection, like human connection and all, those things, and dreams and creativity again. So by blocking the right nostril and just doing left nostril breathing, you're activating that brain hemisphere. The opposite happens. Left nostril, more numbers, more square, a bit more, huh?
I know somebody that's like, they think instead of creative, but they're more numbers. No, I'm just.
Is that person
That's
Asian?
Okay.
Excuse me, I'm a lead artist. Thank you very much. The right side also works.
Sorry, I had to.
It's okay. We all have different opinions sometimes.
No, we were playing a game last night.
Oh, I see.
Making
That's
fun of me.
that's why. That's funny.
Like, where's she
Well,
going with this?
Just wanted to mention that. No, that's cool. We just wanted to mention that for like food for thought. If you guys like to do a little further research on that, the brain hemispheres are affected by the nostrils, and so.
So if we're like blocked creatively, we do some reading. Is that
If you want to stimulate one or the other more, you
Yeah.
can. Again, if you like to fall asleep, I like to breathe with my left. I block my right, and I just do cycles with my left because I know that's going to increase my right brain. Yeah, and plus you're slowing down the breath because you're only leaving a little airway that has to take more time to run the same amount of air than the mouth or both nostrils. So slowing down the breath is another key element, especially the exhales. So food for thought right there. Well, lastly, nasal breathing will bring you benefits like this is now spoken widely in the sports science community, the release of nitric oxide in the bloodstream. NO, nitric oxide, is a vasodilator and an air purifier. So there's 3 forms of releasing nitric oxide into the system. One of them is through breathing, through running the air through the nasal passages. And NO, nitric oxide, vasodilates, so makes blood flow better, So there's more oxygen reaching the cells. That's pretty much it. I mean, there's probably more, but it makes it important enough for us to pay more attention to nasal breathing. Oh, yes, it prevents snoring, exactly. That's why, well, in the book, James Nestor, the US journalist, wrote that book, Breath. Thank you for bringing that up because it is, again, yeah, there's more, as I said, and that's a very important one. When you've kind of forced yourself to breathe through the nasal passages and you have suffered from, sleep apnea or snoring, it almost automatically disappears. And taping the mouth at night is one good way to do it. And people are doing that. And when I started doing it, I actually started having lucid dreams again after decades. Not decades, maybe a decade. Years. By taping my mouth, that first night I had lucid dreams. I could not believe my dreams that night. It must have done something.
Like taping it?
Yeah, it must have done something to my brain hemispheres, So it's 3M. And there is actually no, doctor. That'll be hard. That'll be hard. Yeah, I'll actually give you guys a sample. Here. Sorry, there's this is
Andrew will be so happy.
this is yeah.
A friend of mine breathed it in the mouth.
Yeah, I'm gonna give one of these to each. Can you just pass them around?
We would never have guessed.
It's a white noise machine.
No, it's not.
Well, so the problem was it wasn't consistent. Like they're
Can you pass them back there too?
wait, and then is it done? And then no.
We didn't know.
Can you pass them back there? There you go. It's just for you to try in case you like to and see if there's anything that changes in your sleep tonight. You guys are a couple, so I'll just give you one together.
No. But for lucid dreams.
Yeah, you never know, bro. That tattoo may come to life, you know. Anybody else would like one? Anybody else?
They are nose bleeders.
Nice. So that is very. See, like I actually, when I started talking, I said, generally speaking, because not everybody is a mouth breather.
Yeah.
There's lots of people that, well, 20%. You're within that 20%. You're blessed.
My dad always taught me that I'm not.
See, your dad did what school didn't.
He was very.
Anybody else? Your dad did what school didn't, and not to blame teachers because they did the best they can, but sometimes the school system, the curriculum should have stuff like this, in my opinion, right? Yes, and especially in those early stages is when the kids go they really take that as you did with your dad and just carry through life with it. That's awesome.
One of my dad's biggest criticisms of mouth breathers. And I was like,
Aww. Yeah. Yeah. And it goes beyond what we're talking about. It goes into jaw recession, like crooked teeth. I mean, lots of things through mouth breathing. Yeah. When you're super relaxed and especially when you're sleeping looking up, the jaw drops and then that presses the glottis and it presses the trachea. And if you do it yourself, you'll notice. Yeah. So that's what happens when you snore. I mean, I've woke my wife so many times in the past, not anymore. See, this could save marriages. Yeah. Friends, thank you for engaging and thank you for your patience because I know there is a lot of talk and I get passionate about things and you guys did great. Thank you. Oh, guys, thank you. If you have a morning routine, you can add a 5-minute exercise to your morning routine. 1 minute.